When I think about the generational impact, I think about, or when I think about the generational impact of toxic chemicals, I think about how this is wrapped up, and this is not just a conversation about what beauty or superficial kind of ideas around beauty, but really it's a conversation about standards, Western standards. It's around racism. It's about all these other issues and policies that are specifically aimed at or upholding right racism. So, what do I mean by that? Um, when we think about the products that we use and the reasons why, particularly for Black women, it's a conversation that is a little deeper than our personal like style, right? We know that that our hair is political and the ways that we wear our hair can actually say something about us. We know that there have been laws that have discriminated against us wearing our hair naturally. We know that there have been spaces where we have been marketed to in ways that not other communities have been in terms of how do we conform to a Western European standard of beauty. And all of those pieces have upheld, again, racist ideas of like beauty, but also has reinforced how, in ways in which Black women have to maneuver in the world, right? Which also is directly linked to the chemicals that we use, right? There is, if this was just a conversation about what we used every day and this personal style, it would be a very different conversation. But we know from media to everything that we see around us that Black women are looking to not only be seen and heard, but also respected. And that the fact that a lot of times when we think about how we get dressed in the morning, what we wear, what we smell like, all those things is having absolutely to do with people seeing who us as human and our humanity, because so oftentimes we are not seen as that in the world that we live in right now. And so when we think about the generational impact of toxic chemicals, it is lessons that are passed down and products that are passed down, and thinking of how do we protect ourselves, right? Of lessons about how we conform to beauty in ways that are helpful and trying to keep us in a keep us safe, right? And it's not actually many times in these conversations about like our personal style. And so us, when we're looking at how we do and how we engage in chemical and toxic chemical products and how we're banning them from the market, it is absolutely linked to the work that we're also doing about the social norms and also doing the work around breaking down racism. Because if the part of if you take a product like relaxers, which are supposed to keep your hair straight, right? And the active chemical in relaxers is the thing that is the most problematic, right? It's not just we need to ban relaxers, because if people are trying to keep their hair straight, then like that's what we can't take the chemical out because then it won't work anymore. But what it is a conversation is if people wanted to keep their hair straight, are they doing that because that's how they want to look and they want to be fly? Or is that because that's how they have to look in order for them to keep a job? And that's a different conversation. And so our work with chemicals around toxic chemicals is let's ban the stuff that we know we don't need, right? So we could stop having um, the impact of this on our bodies, on our children's bodies, on our grandma's bodies. But also, let's have a conversation about like the ideas of beauty norms to make sure that when we think about beauty, we're thinking about everybody in different and diversity of beauties and body types. So then it also applies this more pressure to the product companies to actually diversify what they're doing and how they're serving that to us, right? But it also, you know, takes some of the pressure out of how we are looking at beauty products and how the pressures of why we use some of the products that we do. So thank you for being in the struggle with us and figuring out those hard pieces for we can have a better space for all of our communities moving forward.